My name is Joe Pryor. I'm president of the Miller County Historical Society. I'm standing right now in front of our museum in Tuscumbia, Missouri. This building was built in 1943 by the Anchor Mill Company. It was their hardware store, and it was built of fieldstone rock. You don't see that type of building much anymore. In 2006, we had an addition built to this building to double the space. We now have 6,000 square feet of display items, all from Miller County in our museum. And we cover a lot of different subjects in the museum in a timeline beginning before the Civil War and extending up into the 1940s. All the articles in the museum came from Miller County and were donated by various individuals who were interested in this project. Well, we have two log cabins here. The one just immediately behind me, the larger one, is the Peter Lupartis cabin, and the one next to it, the smaller cabin, was an old slave cabin used for slaves on a farm owned by John Williams, which is south of the river. Now, in regard to the larger cabin, the Peter Lupartis cabin, he built that sometime shortly after the Civil War, and he raised 14 kids. Yeah, well, we're here in Tuscumbia, Missouri, and this is the county seat of Miller County, and it was chartered in 1837. It was actually the first place where white people settled. Before that were just Indians. The county has a location on the Osage River, the river that makes Lake of the Ozarks, and it was had a nice landing for the steamboats when the steamboats started coming up from the Missouri River up the Osage River for commerce. And the big mill that developed here, one of its major sources of income was the steamboats it had to run up and down the Osage, and even once in a while go to St. Louis. And so it was a great center of commerce for a long time in the county. And then later, Eldon developed up north when the railroad came through. That was in the late 1800s. And then Iberia, which was a major town south, it developed sometime in between when Tuscumbia developed and Eldon developed. Tuscumbia was the hive of commerce in the whole county until the railroad came to Eldon, and then that was, of course, a more efficient, fast, and economical way of delivering supplies and goods to the county rather than the steamboats. So about the time the railroad came in, while the steamboats disappeared. But we had clear traveling on the Osage River with steamboats clear up to Warsaw. You could take a boat all the way up to Warsaw. Of course, when they built Bagnell Dam, which was finished in about 1931, why then that stopped significant commerce on the river as far as going up and down the whole length of the river. We're in the original Anchor Mill Company hardware store, which is made of native stone rock, and the rock was brought in to build the building from just fields around here, so it's sort of historical in that sense. So we're in a historical building right now. We built on an addition to this building about 4 or 5 years ago, and so now we have about 6,000 square feet of display space in our museum. We have maintained this area as original as possible in terms of the building itself, as well as having a small replica village that would have been in this county maybe back in the mid-1800s. And then in the new part of the museum, while we have various displays, one of the displays that we're most proud of is the steamboat display, because steamboat was a major source of commerce for our county, and we've emphasized that. But basically everything in this museum is Miller County originated, and it has a story to tell. We don't really have a guided tour because we just let people browse, but we have lots of placards with lots of descriptions and with great detail on everything we have here. Well, this is a typical one-room school. Early on, the county government decided that no child should have to walk more than 3 miles to a school, so we had probably maybe 90 one-room schools at one time, and this is typical. It truly was a one-room, and we had some desks in here, but early on they only had benches to sit on, and maybe we're even lucky to have a blackboard or whatever the teacher used to cipher on, which was doing numbers and so forth. In this room, in the back, you'll see a map case, and it's a very old map case. We actually had it donated to us from the Spring Garden community, and it The children in those days, really, with the McGuffey's readers, they probably learned a lot more in a shorter space of time than children do today. It was pretty well disciplined, and even they had rules for the teachers. Especially women teachers, they even had to control or at least had rules about where they should stay and so forth. And there was just a lot more organization and discipline, I think, in the one-room schools. Now they just went to the 8th grade, and a lot of times the children they had to work at home, so some of them didn't get to finish school. Education was valued in some homes and it wasn't in others. So it was not until the 1950s that we consolidated schools in this county, and the one-room schools sort of disappeared. And Carol McCubbin, who is 90-some-odd years old now and lives at Lake Ozark, was the key person at that time in getting the schools all consolidated and organized.
Well, we have a display of old farm tools, all kinds of tools, and the amazing thing about them, they're not only for people to see now, but what we're putting together will benefit people for generations to come, and we're happy to do it because of that. This is a broad axe that was used to hew railroad ties many years ago. The old-timers made a living. They cut trees and they would get maybe 2 or 3 railroad ties out of it, and they sold for a very small amount of money. The work was hard, but the times were hard too, so people had to do something for a living, but that was a very, very, very valuable tool. This is a corn sheller, again from days gone by. You just take an ear of corn, you feed it in here or here, turn the handle, it would shell all the corn off and drop it in a bucket or a container below, spit the cob out, and you're ready to go again.
This year we'll be opening on Saturday, May 19th, and we run through to the 1st of October. Our hours are 10 in the morning to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. The days of the week are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday.